And go ahead and turn in your grammar books to page 79 is where we're at.
Oh, I kind of lost my book.
Oh no,
Yeah.
it's got to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, did you tell your mom about that or no?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you can just watch. I recommend you can copy down the sentence when we get to the practice page, and then you can fix that. Keep looking for your book though. It's got to be somewhere because you're going to need it
Yeah.
for your homework.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is on page 79. We're talking about interjection. And that's another fun video on Schoolhouse Rock. If you guys ever want it, you're bored and you want to look that up, it's on YouTube. Schoolhouse Rock is a show that I used to watch when I was a kid. And yeah, it was from the 70s. So it's pretty old school, but it's fun. And they have a song about interjections. So all their music videos had to do with grammar or history or politics or some kind of, learning lesson. Anyway, it's when there's an exclamation mark usually. So it's like, watch out and look out, or hey, or wow, or what's happening, something where it's like something's going on. I guess what's happening is not a good example because that's more of a question, but a statement or exclamation about something. So here's your example. Wow, he hit the bullseye. So that word wow, interjection, that has an exclamation point. So when an interjection expresses a strong emotion, use an exclamation mark. Capitalize the word that follows the exclamation mark. You guys already know that. Here we've got, he still has one arrow. So when an interjection does not express a strong emotion, use a comma. So here is an example of an interjection, but thinking, right? Usually means a thinking sound, comma. He still has one arrow. So using a comma, you don't need a capital after that, obviously. Next, we're talking about capitalization. Capitalize an interjection when it is the first word of a sentence. That's obvious. Capitalize a word that follows an exclamation mark. Again, obvious. Write INT above each interjection. Place a comma or an exclamation mark after each interjection. Place 3 short lines below the letters that should be capitalized. So here's an example of how you'll fix it in this book for your homework. Yikes, there's another one. Yikes. INT stands for interjection, exclamation point, and then we need to capitalize the next letter. He killed the king's deer. Okay. Imperative sentence is an implied subject. Okay, an imperative sentence gives a command or makes a request. Every verb has a subject, a noun, or pronoun that performs the verb action. However, the imperative sentence does not have a written subject. Rather, the subject is implied or it's invisible. It's there, it's implied, but it's not physically written in. Because commands are always directed toward someone or something, the subject of an imperative sentence is always you. So it's basically when they're telling something, and you'll see an example here. Read the sentence and look for the verb. Ask who or what. If the sentence forms a command, the subject is you. Write you in parentheses to show the subject, write V above the verb and S above you. So here, without you, it says, step up to the mark. Now, this is not, well, it is a quote. A lot of times when you have an imperative sentence like that, it's usually somebody saying it, but sometimes it can just be a sentence to add style to your writing. and it doesn't need quotation marks. So here's an example here. Step up to the mark is the sentence. You is implied. It's not there, but it's implied. So you would add that in parentheses, and that becomes the subject of the sentence. You step up to the mark. So that can be a little bit tricky. Although in this book, it's kind of obvious because they make it easy for you to identify. But that's how you'll fix it in this book. All right. On the back of that page is a little bit more about homophones. We've talked about these before. Words that sound exactly the same, but they're spelled differently and they have different meanings. And it says correctly use the homophones whose and whose. So there you go. Two words that sound exactly the same, whose and whose. WHOSE is a possessive pronoun. Whose arrows, the arrows belong to whom? The relative pronoun whose functions as a possessive adjective and begins a who-which clause. So whose can also be used in a who-which clause. Whose with an apostrophe, that is a contraction. And who's tired means who is tired. Okay, so whose is who is. The contraction whose is shortened form of who is and functions as the subject pronoun who and the verb is of the class. What just happened? Oh, I know what happened. Hold on. There we go. Okay. To fix it, you're going to place a line through the incorrect homophone and write the correct word above it. So here's your example. Whose bow is this? Who's ready to shoot next? So obviously, whose bow is this is not who is bow is this. That would sound weird. So it's this one, whose. This one, who is ready to shoot next? Easy. Just cross it out, one line through, and then write it the correct way above it. Okay, do you guys have any questions about what we're talking about this morning so far? If not, just shake your head no, and then I know. Okay. All right, moving on to the practice page. So Thomas, go ahead and just get a piece of paper out and write this out. And then you can work on it on your lined paper.
All right.
Since you don't have your book with you. And then Joey, can you read the sentence to us, please?
Go back, sir, demanded Robin rudely. The one who's the better man should cross first.
Okay, good. Our vocabulary word is rudely. I'm sure we all know what that means, but just being impolite, right? Somebody saying something rude. Okay. He's basically kind of challenging this, whoever he's talking to here. So articles here, a and the, go ahead and find those. There's only two. Okay, got that, check. Pronoun, and there's only one. Davinia, where's the pronoun? Do you remember what those are? Let's see, let me make sure I have mine too. Oh, this is a tricky one. I'm going to help you with this one, unless you know what it is. Do you know what it is, Davinia? The pronoun? No, that's okay, because it's a tricky one. It's actually the word one. That is referring back to sir. So go back, sir. The one who's the better man shall cross first actually is not referring to sir. It's referring to the soldiers that are there. They're doing some kind of a competition. And it's referring back to one of the people in the sentence before. So that becomes the pronoun. That was a little tricky. How about Davinia? How about the nouns though? Maybe you can help us find those.
Man.
Yes, man is one.
Robin.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes, sir is one. Is that all of them? Yeah, there's just three. That's it. Good job. Adverbs, I'm gonna have Silas help us with that. Where are the adverbs in here?
The adverbs are demanded, or no, rudely.
Rudely, so ly is typical, but there's two other adverbs, so think about it modifying a verb.
Back,
Yes, good. Back
and
is
then
one.
first,
Yes, good. Excellent. Talking about crossing first and going back. So those are adverbs that modify the verb or help the verb. Good. The who, which clause, Josh, do you know where that's at?
Whose?
Whose, where's the end of the clause? It ends on a noun.
Man.
Yeah, so who's the better man is the clause, and we label it W/W like that. By the way, let's stop right there for a second because that's the wrong whose, right? Who's the better man? It should be who is the one who is the better man. So, Josh, how should we spell whose here? As in who is? With an apostrophe. You're muted, so if you're talking, I can't hear you.
WHO.
WHO apostrophe S. I had to squeeze it in there. Hopefully you can see that. Whose. So this is the homophone. It sounds the same, whose and whose, but it's the wrong one. So we had to fix that. Who's the better man? Okay. Thomas, how about our main clauses? We have 3 main clauses here.
go back, sir.
Okay, so this is tricky. Hold on to that thought. Who are they talking to here? This is implied. Remember that word that we talked about earlier? It's implied because he's doing it. He's speaking directly. It's called an imperative sentence.
All right.
Yeah, so the first thing we need to do is put you here. That's the subject. So you go back without sir is the actual main clause, the first one. Okay, you go back, even though you is implied, so you don't read that part. What's another main clause, Thomas?
Another main clause is demanded Robin.
Yep, and you can include rudely.
All right.
Demanded Robin rudely. Okay, and one more main clause.
The one who's the better man? No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole rest of the sentence right here.
All right.
Who's the better man should cross first.
All right.
Good. Okay. Yep. So those are the 3 main clauses. And remember, main clauses always have subject verb pairs, and that's what we're going to look for next. So, Joey, let's look for the verbs first. Where are the action words here?
Go,
Yes.
demanded,
Yep.
cross.
Yes. There's a couple of helping verbs in here too.
Is that all?
I was just looking at my notes here. Actually, should is a helping verb. So should cross. That's another verb. And then this one's a little tricky, but in the contraction whose, we have who is, right? And is a linking verb. Who is the better man? Okay, so I'm putting my V right above the S, which is in that word whose. Yes, I think you got them all now. So I'm going to ask Davinia, how about the subject? So let's do little by little here. In the first main clause, who is the subject for this verb go back?
Sir.
It's actually you. It's a hidden subject. But it is sir, they're talking like that is part of the subject. But in this main clause where it just says go back, it's referring to you because it's an imperative, what do they call it? Imperative sentence. Okay, keep going though, Davinia. How about this part? Demanded Robin rudely. Who's the subject in that sentence?
Robin.
Yes, Robin. And then here, the one who's the better man.
Man.
Actually, in this one, okay, it's right here. Who's the better man? Who, anytime you have a who, which clause, who is the subject? And then to look at the main clause on the outside of that, the one should cross first. So who are we talking about here? Should cross. It's got to be one from back here. Who's the subject for should cross?
One.
Yeah, one. Good. This is kind of tricky because it's kind of bouncing all over the place here because you've got main clauses and you got this who, which clause within the main clause, and you got this implied sentence here. So yeah, this is a tricky one, but this is a good example to get you ready for your homework. You can always look back on this page to help you. All right, we got all the subject verb pairs. And actually there's an adjective in here and I was confused because I'm looking back on the notes. It doesn't ask you for an adjective, but better, let's label it anyway, is an adjective describing the man. So that is actually an adjective, even though it's not on our list. Okay, so capitals, we got go, is the first word of the sentence. Now demanded does not need to be capitalized because it's a comma here from their quote. So demanded does not, but Robin does. And that needs to be capital. We have a comma that we need to insert. So Silas, do you know where the comma goes in this sentence? It's in a weird spot. I'll tell you that much.
Is it in the quotes of go back, sir?
Yes, yes, it is. Good, Silas. So where does it go?
Wait, you're supposed to move them?
Well, there is one here, but we need to add a comma and it actually comes after back. So it's go back, sir. And the comma after sir is just indicating that the attribution is coming next. So that's why there's two commas back to back there. Go back, comma, sir. Okay. End mark is period here. When you do the period, though, it goes on the inside of the quotation mark, by the way. So when you rewrite it down at the bottom, it should go on the inside of the quotation mark. Ah, my allergies. Okay. Yeah, that was kind of tricky. Do you guys have any questions about that page? No?
When
Okay.
we rewrite it, do we put you in the sentence we rewrite?
Good question. No, you don't. That's just a note for you to label the subject. So you'll just start right off the bat with go, like that. And it's go back, comma, sir, like that. Notice where the comma is in relation to the quotation marks. It's actually on the inside of the quotation marks. So make sure you do that correctly. But that was a good question. All right. Any other questions? You're good. Okay. That's it for grammar today. You'll do the next 3 pages for your homework. All right, let's put that away. My nose is like, everything's itchy because, you know, all that rain and snow and stuff, everything's blooming now. And it's like, crazy outside. We are working on the hart in the ox stall. And I have not had a chance to read your homework yet. I'm excited to see what you guys came up with, because the option was for you to write your own version of the story or to just write the actual story over again. So it was an option to do that. And the thing that we didn't have time to do last week, we didn't have time to go over the checklist together. We kind of ran out of time from that. So this is page 59. Let's look at that together first. Page 59. And you'll notice there's some new banned words here and a new dress up, strong verb. So that's what we're going to talk about first. We already know ly adverb. We already know who, which clause, and now we've added a strong verb. So that means you will have 3 words underlined in each paragraph. So paragraph 1 has 3, paragraph 2 has 3, paragraph 3 has 3. You may have more than one ly adverb or who, which clause or strong verb, but you only need to underline 1 so that I can quickly see that you have your dress ups in your paragraph. So strong verb is what we need to talk about next. And I can't remember, I don't think we wrote it on here yet, but this page, this yellow page should be at the front of your binder. And this is where we're collecting all the stylistic techniques. This is page 21. We've been working on this, so it has a couple of words already on it. It could be behind the stylistic techniques tab. That's another spot. Sometimes students put it there. That's okay too. But it's a yellow page 21. And you should already have on yours, oops, nope, it should say ly. Ly adverbs or adverb. Who, which, clause. And then we're adding a third one, which is going to be strong
I
verb.
already have that.
You already have that? Good. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because one of my classes didn't have that. So you got those 3. Now, strong verbs, I know we talked about this before, but it's a word that gives the reader more of an image of what's happening in your story that you write. I'm just going to show you a couple of things on paper. You do not have to write this down. You can just watch me for this. Okay. I'm just going to put a sentence here. The hart, this is just for you to watch. You don't have to write it, but if you want to write it, you can. Ran into the barn and was in the hay. Okay. In the hay. This is a plain sentence, all right? And I'm going to show you how you can incorporate strong verbs and other words in the sentence to really beef it up, right? That's what big part of this class is learning how to write with style, okay? And style makes it so much better and interesting to read if it's got some style to it. So notice this word ran, that is a verb. And it's pretty weak. I mean, we know what running looks like, so we get it. But there are lots of other ways that we can say ran that would be a lot more, give the reader an image as a strong verb. So does anybody have any ideas? What word can I put here instead of ran if I wanted to change this? You can just unmute and say it if you have an idea.
Rushed.
Rushed, okay. There's like bolted or dashed or scurried, right? Lots of different ways you can say ran. I like that word rushed, so I'm going to use that. Instead of ran, I'm going to say rushed. Now, rushed gives a little bit more of an image. he's in a hurry. I mean, running is in a hurry, but you're not just running like taking a morning jog. It's like, okay, he's rushing in there. That gives the reader a little bit more of an idea of what's going on. And then the word was is also a verb here. So the hart rushed into the barn and blank in the hay. How could I put that in a little bit more of a visual verb here, a strong verb? Any ideas for that?
And jumped
Disguised.
in the hay.
Okay, I heard two people at the same time. Let's see. Let me hear Joey. Go ahead, Joey.
And jumped in the hay.
And jumped in the hay. Okay, what was the other idea?
Disguised.
Ooh, disguised. Okay. Or even like camouflaged himself, maybe. Let's go with disguised. I like that. I like them both, but I'm going to pick that one. Disguised himself. The hart rushed into the barn and disguised himself in the hay. Now we're getting somewhere, right? What if I wanted to add an adverb here? Not an adverb, an adjective. How could we describe the hart, the blank hart? Remember, that's another word for the deer or the type of animal. So what is a word we can describe the hart?
The 10-point.
Oh, the 10-point. There you go. Nice. You know about deer, huh? Actually, you would actually write out the word 10. But 10-point, can you explain what that means for those of you who are not hunters in the group?
It is a deer with lots of antlers.
Point.
No, no.
Right?
It's a deer with 10-point antlers.
Points on the antlers. They only have 2 antlers, right? But they're the points that come off of is that what that means? The points that come off? Yeah. Which, what does that mean? If it has 10 points, what does that mean?
Don't
It's
they
usually
usually
very
get
old.
like 2 a year? So 2 points a year. So that it'd be a 5-year-old buck. Heart.
Yeah, heart. And 5-year-olds are going to be pretty big, right? Because they grow pretty fast. So if you're a hunter, that would be impressive, right? A 10-point heart.
That's
But
so.
I think the hunting rules are they have to have at least 5 points. Is that the hunting rule? Yeah. So if it's 2 a year, that's like what, 2.5-year-old. They have to be at least that old. So, and do only the bucks have the horns or the points on the antlers? Or do the does have?
The does don't have antlers at all.
Okay. Is it legal to hunt a doe?
No.
Ah, okay.
Well, only if it's in the season.
If it's in the season, you can. And I know California has a lot of really strict rules about this. I know other states have different rules, but
So in the season, that's like when it's not breeding season. So it's on the offspring of it, right?
okay.
So all the babies are already born. So after they kill all those, they still have some that are growing up, and that next year they'll be able to start shooting them.
Yeah.
So it's like the circle of life.
Yeah. And that makes sense because you don't want to kill off the mamas or the ones that are able to reproduce. So yeah, that makes sense. That way it keeps going. Okay. Good. Another adjective we could add here is like rustic, describing the barn. So now if you read my sentence, it says the 10-point hart rushed into the rustic barn and disguised himself in the hay. That you could keep going with that. You can add a word to the hay and say scratchy hay or dry hay. So you get the idea. Taking a simple sentence and changing words, adding words, it makes it have so much more style. So that's an example of that. On your banned words list, I just want you to check. This is page 49 and it's blue. There is a section in your binder for banned words, so it might be back there. If not, it's probably at the front. You have this filled out already, some of them. we're gonna add to this. You should have on here.
Do these go for every one of our rewrites?
Yes, they do. And you'll see it on your checklist. If you look ahead at the heart and the oxtal, you'll see them right here, check for banned words. We're just adding to the list. So they just keep going. So you should have say, said, seesaw. Do you guys have those on your list? Okay, do you have think, thought on your list too? Okay, that's a new one. So right here, think / thought. It's kind of tight, so try to squeeze it in there if you can. Think, thought. This one's going to be hard if you're talking about the heart and thinking he's hiding inside the hay. Stay away from using think or thought from now on. And let's explore some ideas of what we could say instead of think or thought. You guys have any ideas on that?
Imagined.
Imagined, good,
Wondered.
good.
Conceived.
What was it again?
Conceived.
Conceived, okay. Could be even guessed. Go ahead and write these in. These words are good to use. So you don't want to use think or thought anymore. You're going to have to come up with another idea. How about hoped? So basically, think or thought is anything that happens inside your head. Realized. Expected. Zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. Pondered. Okay, I'll stop there. So you get the idea. So no more think, thought. But yes, you can use some of these. By the way, these are strong verbs. So that is also on your checklist, as you know. So you need to make sure to include either one of these words or another strong verb that you can think of, but these are also examples. So you have things under say, said, and seesaw. Those are also considered strong verbs. So basically these are weak at the top. We're getting rid of the weak verbs. Now we're making sure to use strong verbs. Okay. So your assignment that was due last night was to rewrite the heart and the oxtal. And I have, like I said, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but is there anybody, well, how about this? Give me a thumbs up if you finished your story about the heart and the oxtal. I see that. Okay, good. Halfway, Josh, maybe? Is that what that means? Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't here last time.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to have to go back and watch the recording of class.
All right, yeah.
Here's a little tip for you. And I learned this from my son. You guys probably already know this, but just in case you don't, if you have to go back and watch a video like a class or something, you can change the speed on the video and get through it a little bit faster. And since, you're just watching, that's okay to just do that. And then that'll help you get through the video a little bit faster. So just a little tip, but you should watch it so you know what we're talking about. So what I'm going to have you do, yeah. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Is make sure that you include, I wanted you to double check your checklist on the heart and the oxtal. So there's no new writing assignment this week. You're just going to make sure you have every element in your checklist as part of your story. So what I'm going to do is give you feedback on the homework that you posted last night. And I'll let you know if you need to, don't forget to make sure, stay away from think, thought, or make sure to add a strong verb, any kind of note like that that I give you, you're going to fix it and then submit the new fixed version of your story, okay? So that's what you're focusing on for your homework. But I do want to go into the next part of the binder. Oh, one more thing. I haven't gone through this with you yet. Page 57 is a pink page. We pulled this out a couple weeks ago, but I don't think we really talked about it. This is page 57. This is part of that group of papers you took out for the heart and the ox stall. It's a handy dandy LY adverb list for you. And you can use this when you go to write your story or fix your story if you're stuck and you need an LY adverb. I also wanted to give you a clue that if you take off the LY, you have an adjective. So you can, if you want to include an adjective like excitedly, excited could be an adjective, or lightly, light can be an adjective, helpfully, helpful is an adjective. So a little trick is using your adverb list, taking off the LY, and you can use that as an adjective. So there's that. Okay, that's it for the ox and the hearts. Yeah, I was gonna say the ox and the heart stall. Okay, so my brain is like going backwards all of a sudden. Let's look in your binder. Let me just take a peek here. Yeah, we need to get out the next unit in your binder the next week. So go ahead and go to source texts in your binder. Let me get mine out here for you. And it should start on page 61. It's called Dangerous Birds. And you're going to get quite a few pages out. So let me show you what you're getting here. It's going to be week 7. This is your last assignment for my class before summer. So you're going to get out, yeah, because we have 2 weeks left and it's going to take you 2 weeks to finish this. So 61, Dangerous Birds, week 7. Take that one out. You're also going to take this one out, 63, because we're moving on to a new unit now. Take out 65, the hooded Pitahui. Take out 67, the African ostrich. Take out 69. I told you it's going to be a lot. This is called the Southern Cassowary. And the checklist, which is page 73. So you're taking out a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. Close up your rings once you got those pages out. Okay. For your last assignment for my class, you're writing a report. So this is the first time you've done, and for me anyway, writing a report. It's going to be about dangerous birds. And we don't need this top page. We just like to keep it together with all the other pages. But this is a brand new unit for you, writing, summarizing a reference. So before we dive too deep into that, I am going to have you take some class notes. So get out a clean piece of lined paper and label it as you always do with your name and date on the upper left. Today is April 25th. And this is called summarizing a reference. In unit 1 and 2, you guys remember way back, you basically took line by line, sentence by sentence, and you pulled keywords and you made your keyword outline and then you rewrote that. That was from unit 1 and 2. Unit 3, we talked about the story sequence chart. And that's where we looked at characters and setting. We looked at conflict and problem, and then climax and resolution. So more like in chunks, we took the story in chunks. Now those were stories. So now we're moving back into more academic writing. This is summarizing a reference. And I want you to look at that word summarizing. Notice it has sum, and sum is a math word, right? We know sum is the product or the result of two numbers that you add together. That's the sum of a number or an equation. So a lot of times when students see that word summarize, I hate that word, by the way. I'm just going to tell you right now, because when I remember when I was your age and my teacher would say, summarize this book or summarize this chapter or summarize this or that. And it was like, summarize? How in the world can I summarize? Where do I start? And how do I know what to put? Summarize is like so abstract to me. And then I see that word sum and I think it means everything. Well, it's not really. I think they spelled this word wrong. I think it should be, let's put it here. And then I want you to draw an arrow and I want you to spell it this way. Rise. And this is just for example's sake. I don't want you to write this like that from now on. This is just to show you arise makes more sense to me. You're taking a lot of information and you're giving some back in your report. All right, so if you have an article that has 7 interesting things in it, 7 facts, and you need to report on 7 facts, that's pretty easy because it's all there. But what if you look at a report and it's got like 15 facts? Like you pull up some article online about volcanoes or something and you type in volcanoes and you get this article that's like 10 pages long and there's like 15 different facts in there about volcanoes, but you only need to have 7. Then you would use like a funnel and pick the most interesting facts to write about, right? So if you have too many facts, you're going to pick, I'm going to put here a question. What facts do I pick? What facts do I pick? That should be a capital W, by the way. If I have an article that has so much information in it, how do I know what facts to pick? Well, I'm going to do bullet points here. So the first one is, what do you think is interesting? Or another bullet, important. Or last bullet point, relevant. You're looking for interesting information, important information, or relevant information. And you might be thinking, well, the whole thing is going to be important and relevant. And that could be true. If you're typing in volcanoes in Google and you pull up an article about volcanoes, yeah, it's probably going to be mostly important and relevant information. But you want to look for what's interesting to you. Maybe there's something about the ash from the when a volcano erupts that settles on the town that causes illness in the people. Maybe you think that's interesting. It's like, wow, that's bizarre that ash would cause problems in people's health or the water or, you know, the plant life or whatever. So when you're writing a report, you get to pick what's interesting to you about the information that you find. Okay, so we're going to leave this like this for a second. And now I want you to start looking at the actual articles that are part of this unit. We've got 3 different source texts. the hooded pitahui, the African ostrich, and the southern cassowary, okay? And you'll notice all three of those are different birds. So your subject is dangerous birds, and what you're going to write about are facts about each one of these birds and giving information about that. So let's just take a peek first at, I like the title, the hooded pitahui. Tells you how to pronounce it right there in case you don't know. The hooded pitahui is what it says. That is a bird. And without reading it yet, if you're just glancing at this, I'm going to guess there's probably like 5 or 7 different facts about this particular bird in here. So we can look for interesting facts to put in our outline when we get to that point. So let's see, what do I want to do next here? Let's just look at it. Let's read it. This is the hooded pitahui. I think we should just read it and keep in mind some interesting facts about this bird. Okay. The hooded pitahui is the first poisonous bird ever discovered. And I never knew this. This is news to me. The bird lives in the forests of New Guinea, where it is known as the rubbish bird. Part of the oriole family, this songbird is brightly colored with a red or orange belly and back and a black hood-like head. It is a medium-sized bird averaging about 9 inches in length. In 1989, a researcher was assisting a hooded pitahui caught in a mesh trap. Its claws scratched the man and his skin grew numb. He licked the cuts and his tongue grew numb too. Okay, that was not one of his finest moments in time. I don't know what possessed him to lick his wounds, but he did. Okay, so he got scratched.
Better if I lick it.
Right, I know. Let's see what it tastes like. It's like, durr.
I don't want to feel my tongue numb.
Yeah. I would have either used my shirt or, a tissue or something to try to wipe it off. But no, he decides to lick it. Okay, so it gets worse. He licked his cut. Okay. Tests showed the bird's feathers and skin were poisonous. While the hooded pitahui primarily eats fruit, it also consumes various insects, and it probably gets its toxicity from eating Coracine beetles. The poison is a batrachotoxin. I don't know how to say that word. Batrachotoxin. There we go. That's what it is. Batrachotoxin. That's the name of the poison that apparently is in the beetles. And then this bird eats the beetles, and then the bird becomes poisonous. So that's where they get it from. Similar to that of the poison dart frog. And it may serve to deter predators as well as protect the birds from from parasites. Local natives know not to hunt or eat the pitahui. I wonder what would happen if you ate it. I guess you would die.
Die.
Probably die. But if you turn numb, that's just really bizarre. So it kind of left us hanging here with this guy. I don't know if it went away or if it stayed numb forever or what happened, but hopefully he survived that. Okay. Going back to our notes here, what we were working on a minute ago. So I want you to go ahead and skip a line and let's do subject and write dangerous birds. This is the subject of your references or what your report is going to be on. So your report is going to be about dangerous birds. And your topics, go ahead and skip a line and put topics here. Equals. Now we're going to make a list of the 3 birds that are in these source texts. So the first one is the hooded Pitahui. So we're going to put hooded Pito. I have to look at the spelling. Hui. That is one of your topics. Now remember, each topic is a paragraph of your report. So we have 3 sources with 3 different topics, and each one of these is going to be a paragraph. So the next article or the next source text is on page 67. You have a question?
Are we writing on all of them or just the one?
So we're writing one report, but using information from each source. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're only writing one paragraph from the information here, one paragraph from African ostrich. So that's going to be our next topic. So we're going to copy that one down. African ostrich. And the last one is called Southern cassowary. And I'm just going to draw like a little arrow right here next to it and put paragraphs. I know I'm writing inside my margin. That's okay. These are just notes for you. So basically your subject, dangerous birds, that's going to be part of your title. That's what the main thing is that you're writing about. Are you okay, Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. And then you've got these 3 different types of dangerous birds, and each paragraph is going to be one paragraph each about these birds. So that is your report. Now, normally you would write a 5-paragraph report. You would have an introduction paragraph introducing dangerous birds, and then you would have these 3 paragraphs, and then you would have a conclusion. But for my class, I'm only having you do the body part of this research or this report. So you're only going to write 3 paragraphs, 1 paragraph about hooded Pitahui, 1 about African ostrich, and 1 about Southern cassowary. Okay, just to give you a heads up on that. Okay, another thing you're going to learn to do is topic clincher. Now that is a new term for you, and I'm just going to write that in your notes, and we're going to talk more about this next week, but I'm going to have you skip 2 lines this time, and we're going to do just a sample outline here. Let's do 7 here. This is just for visual sake. And underneath 7, I want you to write the word clincher. And next to the Roman numeral 1 in the margin, I'm going to have you write the word topic. So go ahead and write that in as an example. Again, these are your topics, right? So one example would be hooded Pitahui. And then under that, you would have things like poisonous, eats poisonous beetles, scratched a researcher, his hand and tongue became numb, those types of information is what you would put underneath that. But when you're writing your paragraph, now you're going to include a topic and clincher. So that word clincher, it reminds me of like grabbing something, like if you have a little brother or sister and they want your pen that you're using for your homework, and you're like, no, this is my pen, and they go and grab it, and you're like fighting back and forth, it's my pen, right? I'm sure that's never happened to you guys before, but clinching is grabbing tightly, right? So it's what you're doing when you're writing is grabbing the reader. You want to like grab them in a hypothetical way, right? Emotionally or intellectually or whatever, you want to get their attention and you want to grab onto their heartstrings. I don't know, I'm making this up, but basically your topic sentence and your clincher sentence are going to connect. And there's a little rule that we have in this class, and it goes like this. I'm just going to tell it to you, and then I'm going to have you copy me. So just watch me first. So it goes like this: the topic clincher the topic sentence and the clincher sentence must repeat or reflect 2 or 3 key words. Okay, that's the rule. They must reflect 2 or 3 key words. Okay. And the reason why I do these little hand signals is because it's true. In your brain, when you say it out loud and you use your hands, it locks it in. 2 parts of your brain connect. Your kinesthetic is your touch, tactile. That's what it is, tactile, and then verbal. So if you do access both of those parts of your brain at the same time, you'll remember it better. So if you ever want to memorize something, do a little dance with it or make some hand motions with it, that will help you, just letting you know. So you guys just do it after me, repeat after me, okay? Put your hand up here and say the topic sentence. Everybody has to do it. I know it's silly, but do it with me. The topic sentence and the
topic
clincher sentence.
And the clincher sentence.
And then you're going to do must, like a fist, like must.
Must.
There you go. And then use your 2 fingers like this, and you're going to make an arch. So repeat or reflect. Go ahead and say that.
Repeat or reflect.
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
And then key, like you're turning a key in the car. Key word.
Key
And
word.
just lay your hand out flat. Okay. That'll help connect it in your head. We're going to talk about this more next week when you get to start writing about this. But just to recap, your homework is fix anything that I tell you to fix from the heart and the ox stall. Look for my comments from last week's homework. If there's
Alright.
nothing to fix, then that's it. You just have grammar. Okay, so you got to
Alright.
make sure to do your grammar. Look for my comments. And I know a couple of you got to finish up your story anyway, so that gives you a little extra time. All right, you guys good?
Alright. Yeah. See you
Okay.
later.
All right, bye you guys. See you next time.
See you next time.
Have a
Bye.
good one. Bye. Have a good one.